A very good afternoon and a good morning to you, those of you who are in morning hours. Welcome to yet another episode of the Uganda Diaspora Show. My name is Lynn, and I thank you for being part of this conversation. It airs every fortnight on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. You can also follow this conversation on our social media platforms. If you go to at Civic Space TV, that is on Twitter, Civic Space TV, Facebook, as well as YouTube, and of course CGS, that is Center for CCG, I beg your pardon, Center for Constitutional Governance pages, also on Facebook, on Twitter, and YouTube. But follow the conversation, yes. Hashtag Uganda in Diaspora Show. That is our conversation hashtag, especially on YouTube. This week in particular, this weekend, we are going to look at the ineffectiveness of Ugandan embassies and missions abroad. It has been one of the most commonest issues that have been arising out of the numerous conversations we've had with our people from the diaspora, and of course, people who have interacted with the embassies in different places. I'm very privileged to have yet again Ambassador Henry Mayega and also Miriam. I'm expecting somebody from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here. That is Machel Kategaya, will be joining us shortly. I want us to quickly get into this interesting conversation. While I was preparing for the show a few days ago, I learned that it turns out that Uganda has over 34 embassies and about a couple of other, I think about, it maintains 32 embassies and high commissions abroad, as well as 43 consulates. Yes, that is what I came across. I wanted somebody from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to confirm that, and then we can proceed. But quickly, I want to welcome you all and hope you're having a wonderful year so far. And let's get into this conversation. I want to begin with Miriam. Miriam, you're in Ohio, is that? Am I right?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So that means your nearest embassy is in Washington.
Yes.
Great. Now, tell us, how are things there? Uh, how do things, because we know there are embassies, everybody's going to refer you to the embassy to do ABCD. Tell us, how are things? Paint us a picture of how things are with the embassy in Washington.
Generally they do like over the desk jobs, like when uh you want something information from Uganda and all that stuff. I've also seen them like more active in, say there is independence, when there are functions, public holidays, they try to reach out to people, interact. But the biggest challenge is the embassy is more politicized. Like, then people who feel like they are not part of the ruling party tend to stay away from the embassy. They look at it like an arm of the partisan government, instead of looking at it as a government institution which is like all embracing, which should be inclusive, which should be non-partisan. And that is a big challenge, as it hinders most services to the people. The people they're like, they don't belong. Yet the embassy should be like the one to gather. It should be like that country, that space for Ugandans abroad, like where they feel they belong, where they feel they are welcome all the time. I haven't had an incident where they've turned out anybody because they are not pro NRM or whatever, but there is like an apathy in between. Like, the relationships between the institution or the institutional agencies with the people who are not pro NRM I think they haven't done so much like to paint that picture that they are not partisan. I'm sure internally that's what they are, but they are not putting in an effort to assure the people that they are not partisans. So most people are like, they look at the embassy like another arm of NRM, another arm of that government where they don't belong, and that is a hindrance to most activities. However, another issue is I look at the embassy as that agency we should be fostering development and international relations and with the diaspora Ugandans and the people back home. They haven't done so much in activities into that area. For instance, I see the Embassy of Kenya trying to put up like investment organization investment activities here and there. They are trying to reach out to people who want to invest, and they broker that relationship. You see, like now in Uganda, if say you want to invest like in real estate in or build a factory in Kampala or whatever, the embassy is not doing so much that into that economic is not brokering that much the economic side of the international relations. They are not helping the people to invest back home. They are not helping the people into protecting. I'm sure, Miss Lynn, you've had a lot of incidences where the people in diaspora cheated of their money when they say they send money back home and someone, uh, I think the embassy should be trying to reach out to people and show them like sexual investment ventures and put up channels where they can mitigate those challenges. Um,
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Miriam, for giving us an insight into that. Um, uh, Wait, I see Richard here. Richard, how are you? And do you mind introducing yourself to us? Okay, I think, right. Let's just move on. I have Ambassador Henry Mayega. Ambassador, we're happy to have you once again. It's been a minute. I want to pick your mind. Maybe we do not understand what an embassy stands for. You are an acting ambassador right now. You know what it should be expected of you and what Ugandans in diaspora that are supposed to be using the embassies, what they should be doing. But I would like for you to give us what exactly, what roles do these embassies abroad play? Ambassador? Ambassador, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, you're hearing me now?
Oh, yes, perfect. Good.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mm.
It has been, of course, a while since we I last participated personally in these discussions. But suffice it to say that thank you very much for giving us these opportunities where we can talk about things to do with the diaspora and functionings of embassies and so on and so forth. Of course, you've asked a very important question as to what the embassies are supposed to do. What are the embassies supposed to do? In the past, of course, embassies were traditionally instruments of governments all over the world to do traditional diplomacy, namely the promotion of good relations with the rest of the host country, for that matter, promoting the image of the country and so on and so forth. But for us who have served during this time, we've been added, and most emphatically, another responsibility which has come out very strongly, and that is the promotion of economic and commercial diplomacy on behalf of the government. And therefore, in addition to the traditional diplomacy, we are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that we promote things like tourism, attracting as many tourists as possible to visit Uganda, attracting investment. That means looking for investors in the host country who can put monies into investment projects, and also actually ensuring that Ugandans who live beyond our national borders can participate in economic activities, in cultural activities. And I'm happy that I've been an active member of the UNA. I have attended since 2010 up to 2019, when COVID struck. I have not been traveling to the US for I think twice. 2020 and 2021, it wasn't possible for me to participate. But even in the UNA activities, I remember that one of the activities that have been really so passionately pursued is the aspect of promoting, of course, attracting tourists, as it were, from the US and Canada to visit Uganda. There's been that effort, of course, to look for as many investors from the US to take their investment monies to Uganda. And there's been also that deliberate effort during the UNA. I'm now talking about the US specifically before I come to China, where I stayed for 5 years, and right now in UAE. I'll talk about that one a little later. But in the US, I'm happy that quite a number of times the UNA conventions that I have attended for 10 years, Ugandans in diaspora in that part of the globe have been explained to the investment opportunities that do exist in Uganda, and Ugandans are passionately really ensured that they attend as much as possible investment forums that have been provided under the auspices of the UNA. And so that enthusiasm is what is being replicated in the rest of the countries, including in China, where I stayed for 5 years, and also now in the UAE, where I'm making a year since December 2020. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, these embassies, although they are viewed by different people, and I don't want to say the majority, by some people, should I say, so to speak, that they're not really benefiting the country, and that probably they're not serving the purpose. These embassies, somebody should have read the report that was produced in the New Vision of yesterday. And in that report, the Minister of Foreign Affairs was outlining, for instance, the achievements that have been made in the past 1 year by the embassies and missions abroad, bringing in all sorts of money. When I was in China for 5 years, I remember that we attracted quite a lot of money, and by the time I left China, we had attracted those substantial amounts or levels of investment in Uganda that amounted to a situation where China became the biggest provider of foreign direct investment in our country. It was number one. He had overtaken Europe or European countries, he had overtaken the US and the rest of the world in terms of bringing investment monies to Uganda, in terms of investing in the economy of Uganda. China had become number one, and I still believe that it still is. And that was really something that we boasted about as embassy of Uganda in China. Now, in the UAE, in the last, so to speak, probably something like half a year, we have attracted to Uganda over $3 billion US. In the last one, just 1.5 of the year up to now, we have attracted that level of investment from the UAE into our country, Uganda. And so when some people speak about these embassies being ineffective, I don't want to agree, because that becomes subjective, but rather not objective, because I would love to have a scientific, probably, research carried out to see, yes, for instance, Embassy A probably has not done the job perfectly well, and we also need to find out why that embassy is actually not doing the job well. But as far as I'm concerned, the embassies where I have been, for instance, in China, for 5 years, as I stated at the beginning of this conversation, and also right now as I speak, the embassy of Uganda and UAE, we are doing our work perfectly well. Now, I want to touch, of course, to take you back a little bit to the traditional diplomacy which the embassies are supposed to do, which include, as I said before, promoting the image of Uganda, promoting the relations between Uganda and the host country where this embassy is situated, and on top of that, also providing consular support to Ugandans in the host country. And as far as I'm concerned, we are doing perfectly well. Right now, as I speak, and I didn't want to speak about what is transpiring in the US, but as far as I know, is that, for instance, the immigration department has been in the US to process identity cards for Ugandans who live in the US. There is now a machine that can print passports for Ugandans who live in the US. So it's not true that these embassies are doing nothing. Right now, as I speak, for instance, the UAE has also received a passport making machine, and we're due to get it out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the UAE this coming week. And they will begin making passports for Ugandans who live here so that they don't have to go through the hassle and bustle of applying for passports. And then they wait probably for a month until these booklets are brought back to the embassy, and then they are collected by those applicants. So we're doing quite a lot of things. And in my stint so far, as a diplomat working for my country, I have seen that there is a lot of enthusiasm amongst the majority of Ugandans to make sure that they make good use of these embassies. When, for instance, anybody visits the consular office of the Embassy of Uganda, you'll find lots of issues being sorted out, including applications for passports. So many, at one point in time, having over 200 passports being served to Ugandans on a daily basis. We have a population in UAE, for instance, over 100,000 Ugandans at any one point in time. And we're serving them perfectly well. Of course, there are delays here and there that the passport probably is, the applicant is supposed to get the passport probably in something like 2 weeks, and it takes 3 weeks or a month, and so due to logistical problems, and those are understandable. But as far as we are concerned, we are doing our job. We are attracting as many investors to go to Uganda as possible. We are trying as much as possible to ensure that tourists visit our country. We are trying as much as possible to serve Ugandans who live here. We are also handling government delegations that transit through the UAE, because that's part of our job. We have to make sure that they don't have issues at the airport and so on and so forth. And so these embassies are actually doing a good job. But I want to load it over to Ugandans who live in many of these countries, that partly they have a problem, because in many cases, Ugandans don't report to their respective diplomatic missions. They have to get into problems fast before they come to visit the embassies, So we want to encourage Ugandans as much as possible to make good use of these embassies. In the meantime, I want to stop there. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that, giving us highlights of what exactly an embassy or the missions do. But we've already seen that Miriam has highlighted the fact that many embassies have become politicized, and yet they're supposed to be non-partisan. All I see, Ambassador, you highlight is that you care more about, securing investments for Uganda, bringing in billions and billions of money. Yet the human resource aspect is lacking. This is in terms of dealing the traditional diplomacy that you talked about, of being able to bring together Ugandans in diaspora, for different reasons. You just mentioned the ID. The other day, we're discussing the deadlines for submission of one's papers for IDs, for passports, and all those documents. And people are really unhappy because they say the embassies abroad are really just on paper. They don't. There's a lot that goes on really bad. Like we're going to hear from the rest of the people that we have on the panel. I'm sure they have a couple of people who told me.
If you don't mind, I can answer quickly. Because yes, I talked about IDs. Yeah, I just want to respond to the issue, politicization. I know it's coming from, because we have quite a number of diplomats, for instance, who have retired from the service, and they feel that the politicization is underway as far as diplomacy is concerned. But the last time I checked, for instance, in the US, that should be about 1 year ago, is that the appointments to these diplomatic missions in the US, those who had been political appointed, we call them political appointees in the US, were amounting to 60%. And the traditional diplomats, those, for instance, who come from the strictly the Minister of Foreign or the State Department, for that matter, in the US, were 40%. So I know where this argument is coming from, that political appointees, that the President Yoweri Museveni has appointed quite a number of people, including myself. I'm a political appointee. I'm a political appointee. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing my job because I don't think this is rocket science for somebody to become a diplomat. Because in any case, there is no country, and I need political science. There is no country, and political science, one of the subjects that we did was actually diplomacy. And as far as I know, the country does not have an institute to train diplomats, and therefore churn them out probably to various embassies and missions of Uganda across, beyond our borders. So that one doesn't exist, but it's not something that only is happening in Uganda, because the president is free to appoint anybody he wants as his representative in any country. And so the argument comes from there that in Uganda, political appointees are quite a number, but this is something which I also see in the rest of the countries. And as far as I'm concerned, the political appointees, or those who are actually mainstream Minister of Foreign Affairs diplomats, are doing exactly the same thing, and it's just a mix. What matters, as far as I'm concerned, is to make sure that what we satisfy the mission of the diplomatic missions. Are they doing their job? Are they looking for investors? Are they looking for tourists? Are they promoting good relations with the host countries? Are they promoting a good image of our country? That is the job these people were supposed to do as diplomats. And as far as I'm concerned, we're doing all those things perfectly well. And the issue of politicization, therefore, cannot arise in as far as these missions are concerned, because we're doing our job. And I don't remember a day when, for instance, somebody came for a service at any embassy where I've worked, and then we asked them whether they belong to NRM or not, or they support President Yoweri Museveni or not. When you come as a Ugandan, we will definitely serve you just like the rest of the Ugandans.
Right. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that. Now we have Machel Kategaya, who works with the Foreign Affairs Ministry here. Machel, you have the floor, and welcome to the show. I want to begin with the fact that you work with foreign affairs. Now, for example, I was reading, and I saw that Uganda has a number of embassies abroad and consulates. So we have 32 embassies and high commissions abroad, as well as 43 consulates. Is that so, Machel? And if that is so, what is their role? And then I'll come to a point why we are having this conversation at this particular time. The last episode we had, we were talking about the expiration of different of the old passports, and you have to have a new one. You have to register for a new one, the East African passport, and people having challenges because different embassies are located in different places. There is no smooth operation of if I am say in state Z and the embassy, the nearest embassy is in like the other state. There's a whole lot of issues. Now, Machel, I want you to give us a picture. Tell us, you work with the Department of Diaspora Affairs. Do you get any comments? Do you get any queries? Do you get any people coming in to say, you know what, ABCD is happening because in our embassies and we want help? And so, what is your desk supposed to be doing in helping people access better services at these embassies? Machel.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol observed. What you were talking about, we are trying to drive development through the management and implementation of national diaspora policy. So we're promoting and we're nurturing and sustaining a beneficial relationship between Ugandans abroad and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So yes, as you were saying that there are some people who are trying to renew their passports. The renewal of passports can actually be worked through mail. It can also be worked through email. Please go to mofa.go.ug, and you can find the closest embassy or the closest embassy towards you. As Ambassador, that we are here to serve you. We are here to serve you. Yes, there are a lot of communication problems. There are a lot of but at the end of the day, if you find and you register with your closest embassy, you will be able to get all this documentation done with ease. Yes, of course, there's the diaspora, we can tell, are very frustrated. But the question is, right now we're working on a policy that is more public, that is trying to help the people in the diaspora work and move forward. So we are here to help you. If there are some errors and some arrogances that you have been dealing with, it is because of the old guard. But as a new diplomat, we are here to help and make you work forward. So that's all I can say.
That's interestingly brief and interesting. Now I see we have Albert Bakasara, we have Francis Kamuhanda, we also have some attendees. Please make use of the chat room. You can type in your name and what you do, and also maybe a question, a comment, and we'll be reading it out here as the conversation goes on. Don't forget that we are talking about the ineffectiveness of Ugandan missions and embassies abroad. And because we have had continuous issues over the times, we have had these conversations of how they are ineffective, of how they are arrogant, of how they are not paying attention to their people. Uh, Albert, you have been mentioning a couple of things. Francis, you have mentioned a couple of things. Now is the time. We have somebody from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have Ambassador Henry Mayega. What are those challenges that you encounter? I'll begin with you, Francis, and then we come back to. Oh, sorry, let's begin with Albert. Albert, I see you're already ready. Right.
Hello, how are you doing, Lynn? And greetings, fellow panelists. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to have this conversation. Um, let me start where Ambassador Mayega left off. I concur that all over the world, the political appointees are acceptable, a small number. And to correct him, yes, there are some countries that have dedicated schools for diplomats. I know one in Virginia here for the US diplomats. They do actually have a training school. And maybe Uganda should establish one. But anyway, it's not about political appointees, it's about performance. And as a bureaucrat, I'm not a political appointee, I'm a career civil servant, just like many that are on here in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We don't really measure what we do, but we actually would like to measure, or actually here we measure the impact on the people. So when Ambassador Mayega says that the embassies are perfectly fine performing, let me quote him correctly, they're performing perfectly well. Against what measure? The embassy here in Washington, D.C., 20 miles from my house, I'm very familiar with it. I came to the US through that embassy. I've worked for that embassy, so I'm very familiar with it. Has a staff of 7 people, 1, 2, 3, 7, to serve Ugandans in North America or in the US who number about 120,000. 7 people serving 120 to 150,000 Ugandans. There was a time when the embassy, the 7 is actually now fully, I'll call fully staffed. There was a time when the Uganda embassy had 3 staff members. There was a time when it spent over 2 years without a deputy ambassador. So I don't want to rail on my friends who work for the embassy. They actually work very, very hard. I would put back the blame, if there is the blame to be assigned, back to the priorities of the of their bosses in Kampala, and these include senior diplomats like Ambassador Mayega. It's what you prioritize. So when you come and tell us, "Oh, the embassies are perfect, working perfectly well," I kind of attribute that to your political training, since you say you're a political appointee. It cannot be a realistic assessment. How can 7 people perform perfectly well? What are they, miracle workers? For young people like the gentleman, Mr. Kategaya, if you want to make an assessment of how your embassy is performing, on Monday, this Monday, please pick up the phone and call the embassy in Washington, D.C. and see how long it takes for somebody to answer a phone, if they answer it at all. Now, I don't mean that they're not working. Like I said, I already put a picture to you. There are 7 people serving 120,000. And these are the 120,000 that Ambassador Mayega said are very important. And now the new mission of the diplomatic mission has added an economic aspect, and where they value us. So no, they cannot. They're not. They're not sufficiently staffed to handle the demands of the community that they serve as much as they would want. So that's point number one. The other point is how, again, on the measurement, performance. Yes, there have been efforts done here, and for the 34 years that UNA has had conventions, they always have a business aspect. But what do you measure the successes that come out of those business investment forums? I have been a member of UNA for a long, long time. I even served as its deputy speaker for the last 2 years. We've asked these questions. What has been happening is that the convention where that Ambassador Mayega attends has really been one where Ugandan diplomats, Ugandan members of parliament, ministers, and whoever is on that favorite list have been using to come here and really do partying for 4 or 5 days. There's nobody who measures what they do. I even wrote a report last year that got me in trouble with my organization, because I was still a sitting deputy speaker of the organization, and I wrote an article that totaled the amount of Ugandan money, taxpayers' money, that was being spent on a Ugandan convention, upwards of $1 million on that convention. Upwards of $1 million. In 2016, I was in Boston with Ambassador Mayega. The parliamentary delegation, headed by the Speaker, then Rebecca Kategaya, and her deputy, totaled about 70 members of parliament. About 70, including the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. What was the performance measurement that Ambassador Mayega says, oh, they came, they attended a business forum? And what were the results of that business forum? How many high-profile investors from this great land of America have opened up factories in Uganda out of those efforts for the 30-something years that the likes of Ambassador Mayega have been coming and attending these business forums? So I have previously asked for a different kind of relationship, one of mutual respect and one of mutual benefit for us, the Ugandan diasporans who are out here. Entice us. Instead of looking at some billionaire or millionaire from America or China to come and invest in Uganda, you have your sons and daughters who are here. They are able. They may not be millionaires that one is going to cough out $20 million to come start a factory. But I guarantee you, if the environment was created and nurtured, you would have and vehicles are put in place, instruments or investment instruments are put in place, service, attention given to them, I guarantee you they can pool their resources and they can do something big in Uganda. That's what has been missing. And that's the politicization that Miriam is talking about. They are so concerned about who's in the opposition, who's doing that, pitting us against each other. Oh my God, we had an election last year in Yuna that Ambassador Mayega is talking about. I ran in that election, so I'm very familiar with what I'm talking about. Oh, we cannot let so and so take over. That one is new. That one is not. So yeah, and the embassy was well involved. Operatives from Kampala were well involved. Sleeper cells here. Government sleeper cells. Yes, the Ugandan government have sleeper cells here. They were activated publicly. Okay, so when you say, oh, they're not, they are there. So just admit it and we work through it. It's not a crime, by the way. I've said this before. Because if President Kyagulanyi or President Mugisha Muntu tomorrow was in power in Kampala and they ignored a substantial organization like UNA in North America, I would laugh at them. So it's okay for the government to be involved, but the question is, what kind of involvement are they doing? Pitting us against each other, having people's names and reputations destroyed is not a good way. Spying on each other is not a good way. It does not help. So the government of Uganda can do better. We're here, we're sons of the soil. There's nothing that's going to change us. Whether you call us former Ugandans or whatever you categorize us, you're not going to take away my. You'll never take away my. You'll not change me from being a Mtoro from Kitumba in Fort Portal. It will never happen. You can try all you want, okay, but it will never happen. The truth is, we are here. Now we have kids, we have families, and these are people that you should be looking out to serve and nurture, so that when they grow up and when they go out there, they sing the praises of the nation that they come out of. Okay, and several times I've said to you, yeah, like you said, the Embassy of Uganda has 7 staff members. What's the reach of 7 staff members? Very minimal. So for all intents and purposes, we are the ambassadors. We are the diplomats. The stories that you give us to sell in our host countries, in our adapted homelands, are the stories we're going to sell. If you give us the bad stories, those are the ones, bad experiences, that's the experience we will advance. Because every time we go out there, somebody asks you, oh, you have an accent, where are you from? So I'm from Uganda. And they tell you, oh, Idi Amin. It's like, no. Now you have to give them the whole history. So what is in that story? What am I going to tell? Okay. I commend the hardworking staff at these embassies. I've been there, I've worked with them. We've worked on several projects to actually help provide services to our communities. In the US here, the embassy has been trying to go to different venues, communities to actually, even they move, sometimes they move with their fingerprinting machines, sometimes they even invite delegations from Kampala to help out. All those initiatives were done by us as community leaders. They were not done by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It was us working with Ambassador Katende and his able staff to put those things in place. To appeal to Kampala, hey, give us some money. Can we go to Houston? They have a picnic, a community picnic, and they go and do fingerprinting and give people IDs and stuff, things like that. So we can work together to improve these services. But I do not buy the line of they're working perfectly well. I wish they were. And by God, they're trying. So I'll stop there. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Albert. We have people who are attending. You can raise your hands. You can raise your hand and let us know what your question or comment is, and also make use of the chat room so that we see. Put up your question or comment. Richard, you have your hand up. Please unmute yourself and let us know what you want to say. Richard?
Hello.
Yes, please. Go on.
I don't know how to put on the video. I don't see the video. Or is it okay?
It's okay. You go ahead. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you very much for this conference. My admin, maybe a supplement or comment. I'm supporting my brother Albert. That the embassies are doing their best, but maybe the government what need to do. One is to give those people full powers and authority to do some activities and equip them with necessary fundings and tools and skills. For example, when you are about the, let's say the passport, yes, we have the embassy, the staff, but they don't have the full powers to do, let's say, renewal. People in diaspora, let's say America, Canada, where, to me, I think the embassy should be, it's like, it should be our country. It should be like in Uganda when you go to maybe Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Uganda, where. But you go there, they have limited powers. They will say, we have to send this one to Uganda. We have deadline of some things. Maybe you are running, you are chasing your national ID, you are applying for something, they need something. You are sending a document to Uganda, it will take 2 months to send it there. Then again, even in Uganda, there is ineffectiveness. You send papers in Uganda. For example, I have been calling some institutions in Uganda. I need some verification on some papers. But you call the whole week, you go on websites, you call all these numbers, nobody's picking the phone, nobody's replying your email. Really, I think we need to look into the system from the grassroots. Yeah, Mr. Albert talked about that we are here, we have families, we have kids. What we are trying to drop to our back countries. We are born Ugandans, we can't change that. But how are we going to convince our children, our new generation, that hey, back home is good? When you take a week to get your document satisfied or sent to you, when you take 2 months or a year to get your passport renewed or something, there are few things, verify, put the system in place. For example, here in these countries, let's say Mr. Albert will agree with me. What you need is just they verify your birth, your date of birth. It's something small. They verify your information. They work on you. But when you have to work on paper in Uganda, you have to go to the embassy. They don't have equipments. They have one laptop. They are working about 20, 100 people. Then again, they don't have full powers. They have to call the Uganda. We have time difference. It's night. That they will not be served. Then you have to wait. So seriously, the embassies don't have a big problem. The problem is from the grassroots. Give those people full powers. Give them full equipment. Give them enough manpower. There are people, graduates in Uganda, who have studied all these IT technologies, computer sciences, administration. Send them to these places, let them serve. So that is my my comment. The people are doing their best, but they don't. It's like sending someone in the garden and you don't give him a hoe. What is he going to do? When you reach at a certain point, sometimes these countries they have deadlines. They will tell you, hey, please submit this information within a week, within 2 months, within a month. Then you walk to the embassy, you call Uganda, you send messages. If you are going for a further studies, you are not going. If you are going for a job, you are missing it. So really, what I see is that you people on ground, the team in Uganda, it's a team in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where securities really sit on the ground, sit on table, and give these people full powers. They can verify on some issues. Putting in a date of birth is enough to get all the database on someone. Then you have to wait. So seriously, the embassies don't have a big problem. The problem is from the grassroots. Give those people full powers. Give them enough manpower. They are people, graduates in Uganda, who have studied all these IT technologies, computer sciences, administration. Then you have to created a system. People have done IT. Mr. Albert has said it. We are here. We are studying. We are doing all our best to make sure Uganda is a good country for us, for our children and the children. So sit on ground. Set those systems. If someone is in the UK, you don't need to travel back to Uganda for just a small driving license renew. Go in the system, click in, put in your date of birth, pull up all the data, get it verified. Go ahead. People here.
All right, Richard.
So that's my comment.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I hope Minister of Foreign Affairs, I hope Ambassador Mayega and people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well as the embassies are taking note of these complaints, and hopefully next time we have this conversation, you are answering most of them, or you have actually worked on them. Thank you very much, Richard. All of you who are there, you have a question or comment, please make use of the chat room and also maybe raise your hand once in a while. Francis Kamuhanda, you're there. How are you? Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure you have equally your own stories about the Ugandan embassies and how they've gone political or how they have been politicized, especially because it is the most disturbing of them, of all issues and challenges that people keep, highlighting. Francis.
Thank you, Lynn, fellow panelists, and I'm glad again to meet Ambassador Mayega on this platform. I will begin by saying, back home we have a saying that someone is told that the skin of a dog can never be used to carry a baby. And then someone says, but it carried the late so-and-so, little knowing that that's why that person is no longer living. I normally like what the embassies do, but I don't necessarily agree with how sometimes Ambassador Mayega mixes one service and politics. In most cases, when the few times I have interacted with Ambassador Mayega, I see him more of talking politics than talking about service delivery to Ugandans, whether both at home and in the diaspora. So for me, I seek a ground where Ambassador Mayega would accept and say, okay, let me listen. The people I'm serving, if at all, he's offering a service, not politicking. Let me listen. The people I'm serving, what are they facing? What are they saying? What are their suggestions? And how best can I serve them? I will give you an example. He was saying we should keep moving to the embassies. Like, of course, I agree with him. Like, you are school children, it is time for reporting, then you go and the teacher takes roll call. But let me ask, has Ambassador Mayega, for example, if I begin with the UAE, where he's an ambassador, have you ever taken time to go back in Uganda and address Ugandans about the plight of how many girls or how many Ugandans are facing trouble in the UAE and how best you can be of help so that you address the problem from the source? That look here, never allow so and so to do this and this. Honorable Ambassador, have you ever gone back to Uganda to tell them that look here, people may take you through scrupulous means and you end up landing into slavery, you end up landing into hands of people who will even extract your body organs and so on? That is your responsibility. Not a culprit who has been taken hostage somewhere now should come to you. That is one. Two, Honorable Mayega, have you ever asked the ministry, I think of both foreign affairs and internal affairs, to ask how many people have passed through immigration at the airport and they are saying they are coming to the UAE? So that at least you have a number. Because I know, Ambassador Mike, if I asked you, how many Ugandans are in the UAE, in terms just of a blanket number, chances are high, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, maybe you are waiting for them to come and register with you. Whether that's what the policy states, but we are saying, we who are facing these challenges, can you also incorporate such and such an idea? So all that is what we are saying, demanding services. But for you to sit and you keep reporting, look here, we remitted so much money and so on, we are doing well. No, you are smartly dressed, going nowhere. Having said that, then I have always said, when it comes to honorable defending the ambassador, defending the embassies, how they are working, we are not saying that they are not working, but we are saying they are underworking. There is a lot that they need to do. Bakasara at least has elaborated. And that's why I'm vehemently opposed to a situation where, for example, Ambassador Mayega, you have also traveled yourself, not specifically to come and reinforce the people in the diaspora, but to come and be part of the team that is coming to disorganize the already organized people. So I just seek an understanding and a ground where when you come, let's engage each other on aspects of development, not aspects of antagonizing people who would be beneficial to Uganda and even steer development. But for you, when you people come here, like Bakasara said, the MPs name them, you are looking at allowances, not solving the problems that we face or development oriented. You are only looking at your per diems, you are looking at how you are going to disorganize the whole process, which I vehemently disagree with. Machel talked about that they are engaging us in terms of development. That's why the diaspora, that's what the diaspora desk is supposed to do. I agree. I agree the purpose of why it is established, but the will is ill. The will is ill. For example, I'm not saying that you should consult me. When you are saying you are coming up with the policies, what kind of consultation do you do with the people in the diaspora? Or you only look for those who subscribe to NRM? Or you only look for those who are pro-government? And yet, for purposes of checks and balances and to get a balanced kind of policy that can work for all of us, because how members have said, whether you like it or not, whether we are not in agreeing politically, we are all Ugandans and we belong there. And nobody has the right to say you don't belong there, we shall always be there. So these policies, when you are coming up with them, try to extensively engage us. Use a bottom-up approach. Gone are the days where you just use the top-down approach and you think it will help. Otherwise, you will always be having those policies that you think are good, but you die under their heavy weight. Having said that, I move to the next point. Honorable Mayega said that the embassies are there to serve Ugandans regardless of whether you are in opposition or not, and so on. So, Mayega, what do you have to say about the Rumuye incident? Was the embassy not turning political? Yes, I know Rumuye must have had his own flaws, but do you think that was a good gesture that the embassy did? Or that's, I know you are going to support it, that was a good thing, but I need your comment as far as that is concerned. And lastly, I would like to say that for us in the diaspora, what we are seeking is not a situation where a mother is waiting for children to cry that they are hungry for the mother to serve them food. But we are looking for a situation where the mother takes up the responsibility of knowing that my children, this is time for lunch, I need to serve them. So, Ambassador, whenever we come to these debates, I think don't be on a defensive, but be a good listener and at most be a good student of us who are going through such a traumatizing situations. And of course, having said that, always urge your government that they are making your work very difficult when there is gross abuse of human rights. That one, we shall always tell you that you have to constantly ensure that that does not happen at home, because that's what is selling Uganda. Garbage in, garbage out. When you do that, that's what the people will look at. And you can't convince any investor to come to such a country. Although it was a good thing for the first son to go to Rwanda and the country is reopened, the body is reopened after 3 years, don't you think that somebody can easily interpret that the feud between Rwanda and Uganda was a personal sentiment between the family of Museveni and Kagame? And that's why, for all these diplomats that have been going there to solve the problem failed, not until the child of the first family goes and they settle their family differences. So does it mean that the family differences of Museveni will always turn into a national matter? But anyway, that aside, I need us to move as a country and develop, and we are positive about that, but only if you can only have an opportunity to listen and change some of these things, and we have institutions that are functional. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis, for that insight. But the one issue that stands out is the politicization of these embassies and the services they're supposed to, offer. Right. And I see in the chat room, Albert is saying to the technocrats from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, does the ministry have in place performance measures for Uganda's embassies and missions? I wonder the same. Do they have like targets? Do they have monthly reviews? Do they have all these assessments? Okay, I hope Machel and your team can take note of that. Trudy here says, Francis, are you also aware that Ugandans have on several occasions been cautioned about going for labor export? I think this is in reference to you mentioning United Arab Emirates issues. Blame game does not help. We must appreciate that the embassies are doing a lot for the diaspora. Now, for us, the diaspora in Asia appreciate the work of the embassies. Thank you very much, Trudy, for that. Who is this? Who is this? Let me see the name. Oh, this is Miriam. Okay, if you're talking about the Middle East, the labor agencies exporting these girls are licensed by the government. That's a very interesting discussion there. Now we have Gordon Murangira. Gordon works in the United Arab Emirates and is on ground with especially these issues here that have been going on, the labor export agencies, the externalization of labor, the girls involved in these situations. I'm glad that you're joining us, Gordon, today. Now you have the floor. We are looking at the ineffectiveness of embassies and missions, Ugandan especially, abroad. And we're trying to figure out where is the problem or what is the problem and how can we solve this as as Uganda diaspora team. Thank you very much. Gordon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the participants, people that are here talking about these facts that are affecting us and people in the diaspora. First of all, I want to appreciate whoever has said whatever they have said. I just came in a bit late, so I missed a lot of what was said before. But I came in at the point when that gentleman was in Mr. Hammond was Albert, okay. he was finalizing his stay. Now, Lynn, can you hear me properly? I'm sure I'm audible. Okay. Now, uh, first of all, on a personal level, uh, this is my personal understanding. I could be wrong. Understand correctly. Embassies, wherever they are in any country, representing their respective countries, for me, I want to believe these embassies are supposed to be like micro governments, that the governments representing the bigger governments in those countries where they are. For example, here in the UAE, if you have an ambassador is supposed to be a representative for our government. So in this case here, he's supposed to run a small government where the subjects of this government are the people of that country in the country where he's operating. In this case, our ambassador of the UAE is our president here, or is our leader here, representing our government, but managing the affairs of Ugandans in UAE. That's how I want to believe the embassy should be working wherever they are. Now, in the case of our first of all, external politics of our country, have first of all, I think also in a way affected the operations of the embassies. Everything is inside. Yes, we know that our government might not be doing everything right. Some things they need to change. Not everything is going on the way it's supposed to be going, but there is a way for me, the people, the Ugandans in the diaspora, I think it's because they are more aware of what is going on at home. They know how governments are run because most of them are in broad countries where they are being able to go, be able to get greener pasture. So when I come here to UAE, I look at how UAE runs these things, how the citizens are treated, how the infrastructure is working, how the health ministry is working. So I feel like then it shows me how badly my country is doing. For example, if you go back home and you walk around Bakasara Street, or you go down to the Wino Market side and you see how the city is being run, and you compare with how things are done here, then you realize that there is a problem in the way our government is being run back home. So because of that, we find most people in the diaspora have are completely against things are running back home. Because of that, our embassy, there has been too much push and pull politics into the diaspora. In the diaspora. And of course, now in this case, the most affected leaderships are the embassies, the ones that are in the center of this. So the embassies have to take the beatings that our government should be taking. That's why, if you look at the previous speaker, the most recent speaker, I'm not saying he doesn't have what he said is right, but the embassy does not take it lightly because these embassies, most of them being appointed, they are for government. So they don't normally, they come here and end up serving the government instead of serving. I'll give an example. In the UAE, we had our association, which was united in all Ugandans before the 2021 pandemic started heating up. We had one association which is United. This was an association that was, taking care of all Ugandans despite the tribe, the non-tribe or the non-political. We didn't look at you because of who political party is supported. But after the emergence of the political movement that happened in Uganda in 2021, this association was followed by politics. So it was hijacked and taken over by some political party. So because of that, because this was our link between the Ugandans who are in UAE, most especially now specifically in Abu Dhabi, to the embassy. They used to listen to us. We used to talk to them. We used to invite them for events. They used to come and we talk about so many things that were affecting us. But after the political wave that came, after this political wave took over captured the association or the organization that was helping us, now the embassy started not even listening to us because they think we are divergent. We are not for government. We don't support the government. We against what the government is doing. Of course, at some point, I told you the background why most people in the diaspora end up where they end up politically. So because of that, our embassy started ignoring us. I'll give a direct example here in the UAE. Like, for example, it's very hard if you want to visit the embassy. In the previous past, we used to go to the embassy, visit the embassy, talk, make an appointment with the ambassador, see me and discuss. But now it is very, very hard to reach out to the embassy or even meet with an ambassador and have a discussion. I think this was caused because of those political things that happened a year ago. So our embassies are not serving us the way they should be serving us. They're not doing the thing that we think they should be doing. For starters, the gentleman who just talked a few minutes ago talked about the embassies being able to know which citizens of Uganda are here in UAE, for example. Giving an example of UAE, our ambassador, our embassy should have a list of all Ugandans who are here. If there's anything that has happened to Ugandan, the embassy should be the first to know. The UAE government should be able to report to the Ugandan embassy if anything goes wrong with any citizen of Uganda before they do whatever they have to do. Our government should be aware through our embassy. I'll give an example of China. If a Chinese citizen gets into any problem here in UAE, nothing can be done to that citizen before the embassy is aware. The embassy has been informed, the government has been involved, and things have been solved the way they are supposed to be solved. But for our case, as Uganda, you find like what happened in the previous past, rounding up people and even those who are working under normal conditions with properly registered as residents, but were abandoned, taken to jail, and deported without any embassy making any statement, without even our embassy knowing. I think the embassy was shocked to hear news that some Ugandans were deported without trial. So our embassies are not empowered. I don't know whether they should get empowerment from the country in Uganda, but they are not respected as much. That's why a citizen can go through a situation with either breaking the law or doing something, and the embassy doesn't get to know about it until when this citizen is deported. So, for starters, I think our embassies, for example, for United States, need to stand out and represent us properly. Be able to stand, sit on the table with the governments where they are representing our country and discuss things that affect our people. We should be having. I just told you about an example of China citizen here in UAE. They are treated differently. If an American citizen got a problem, that's a different story. It cannot be treated the same way a Ugandan citizen is treated. You wonder, because in this case, we are all countries, our embassies should have the same stake. Our citizens should have the same value. The same value we have for Uganda, I believe should be the same value an American has for their country. So how do we get to do this? I think the embassy now has to, uh, through our government, have proper understanding with these guys where we are, where our embassies are, so that they can be given uh, that respect as well. Like our citizens can be given value. We shouldn't be taken like petty things, small things. When a Ugandan is arrested, he can be put anywhere. If a Ugandan dies, nobody has find out how the Ugandan dies. The other day, we were told one of our guys died in the sea. Nobody found out how he died. Because we were Ugandan, so it could easily, after reviving the body from the sea, it was put in a place. Some money was collected from Ugandans who are in the area, and the body was transferred back to Uganda for burial. Nobody makes a statement on what happened, what killed the guy. Nothing is. So I want to believe our embassies. I don't know whether because our country is weak So our country is undemocratic. That's why our embassies are not having proper value. And when our embassies are not valued, of course the citizens will not be valued, will not be taken as anything important. Anything can happen to us, anybody can do anything to us and can go with it because we are Ugandans. I think something has to be done. So that's one of the main challenges I see here as Uganda. I've been here outside for a long time. This is not the first country I've been in other countries, but I really think uh, the big challenge is the value. They don't value us as Ugandans because our embassies, I think, they are silent or they are not properly empowered. Something like this. So I would call upon our ambassadors to sit back and go back to the drawing board, fight for our rights because they are supposed to fight for the rights of Ugandans wherever they are. If Uganda gets a problem, should be treated as a human being, properly limited. Someone has dignity. You don't just because they're Uganda, so they should not have their rights. You know. So for me, that is the biggest challenge that I see. If there is anything I'll add on that, Madam Lynn, I want to submit that for now. I'll be able to add some less in case I have to. Thank you so much.
As we wait for Lynn, maybe to add on to what Gordon has said, Ambassador and the Minister of Foreign Affairs staff, I think that's an important issue that Gordon is raising. Ugandans abroad, nobody cares about them. The embassy, I mean, it could be possible that you don't know like who is around and who is in your country and who is not. But when an incident happens, like someone has died under unclear circumstances, at least someone should investigate and inform people back home what has happened. The same incidents happen here in USA. Nothing, whether someone is killed or shot on the street, whether there was maybe they were in a problem or there was a security issue or a crime or whatever. But the embassy should get a clear perspective and inform the people exactly what had happened and how they could help the people, whether they are deportees or people who are under detention for any reason, whatever reason. Even criminals have a right to be defended. So that is a very important issue and I think should be noted. I, however, wanted to mention something else. Like today, currently, the Ugandan diaspora is a very formidable economic base for Uganda country, for Ugandan economy. How come the embassies are not funded yet? They are the arms of the government which reach out to this economic investment base. For instance, the previous week, we had a discussion with internal affairs staff about the IDs and registration of the new passports and all that. But they told us that they have, among all these Ugandan embassies around 30 and the missions abroad, they have only like 9 which are facilitated to do fingerprints for passports. Can you imagine, like out of 34, out of 156 world countries, only 9 of Ugandan missions abroad are facilitated to do something so simple as taking fingerprints. Fingerprints which can be taken by anybody. Anybody, if you have a computer, you have an app, take fingerprints, you can take fingerprints from anywhere. But Ugandan embassies are not facilitated to do that, or they are not mandated to do that. That's a shame. That shows that, like Lynn said previously, the government doesn't care about the diaspora community. It's more like they look at maybe they look at the embassy for the diplomacy and the political liaison, like country per country, but they don't care about the people. So that should also be noted, and I think it's high time you wake up to that aspect. Otherwise, if Uganda is to rely on the diaspora as an economic base, but you don't facilitate it, like in Angola, we have a saying that you cannot milk a cow you don't feed. So don't expect so much to come out of that constituency without facilitation. Another thing is that if you compare other countries, Uganda, there are things that I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can do for Ugandans abroad, which are not done. Like the calls, international calls. Uganda has the most expensive international calls, have the most cheapest exchange rate because we don't have like streamlined money transactions agencies, and there is no like support. So we are the ones who transmit money at the expensive rates. We have the most shortest visas abroad. Like if for example for US Embassy, if you are a student, you are entitled to 1 year visa. If you are a Kenyan student, you have 5 years. If you are a Chinese student, you have five years. And other countries have a difference of maybe 2 plus. I think the Ugandan government can do much more to facilitate the international way things are done, especially reducing the call rate. I hear it's something to do with the taxes and all that. The international calls. We can't do business when we can't make calls to Uganda. Or you are going to make calls and they are expensive. How are you going to interact with the people abroad? So all those things, and if we are to look at the diaspora community and the embassies being that branch of government which is going to represent the government in diaspora, like Gordon said, it's like a micro government in the diaspora community, but it's not equipped, it's understaffed, it's not facilitated or mandated to do the things which would help the diaspora community. How are we going to move forward? How are we going to encourage trade? How are we going to encourage joint ventures? Like Albert said, if you are to invest in Uganda and you are someone in America and you know Albert, you know another Ugandan living in America, those are the people who are going to encourage you to make a joint venture of investment, say in Ugandan tourism. Not the government. The government can do the PR and the talk, maybe attract the big spenders. But the smaller people say we are going to invest in tourism and in smaller things, and they can do ventures with other Ugandans in diaspora. They need the Ugandans in diaspora to assure them that the activities are going to work, and they need easily accessible services at the embassy, not a phone call which is not going to be answered. So all those things should be considered, and I think the staff is not the one to blame, but the government. How can we make the government spend more on the embassies? How can we make the government facilitate the embassies to offer more services to diaspora community?
That's very right. You end on a very interesting note. Thank you, Miriam. I'm sorry I went off just a bit, but there were very important, issues being highlighted. I see Titus. Titus, you have your hand up. Quickly, in 1 minute, submit your question or comment, and then we proceed. We have a few minutes.
Hello everyone, my name is Titus. I live in Belgium. Currently, I have been a citizen. I have been a resident of Belgium for the last 7 years, and in the 7 years, I've been head of diaspora for 5 years. The community, as in the community. So the issues that have been mentioned that I think we as a community living in diaspora, we should organize ourselves before the embassy comes in, because so many communities do not even have leaders. I've had a last caller complain about losing someone in diaspora and the embassy doesn't really find out what has caused the death. I think the embassy has a challenge, and we must all agree that when someone travels out of leaves Uganda, you have the right to leave Uganda at any time you want to leave. But when you reach in diaspora, you have to find your fellow Ugandans, form a group, get friends, connect to someone, and make that person your next of kin. So when something happens to you, that someone is supposed to make a phone call to the embassy and then say, so and so Titus has got a problem. How can you help? But in most cases, someone comes, for example, goes to the Netherlands, sits somewhere in Groningen, very far away from Amsterdam, and they have no connection to any Ugandan. Such a person does we can never know that a person like that has got a problem, and we cannot blame the embassy for that because the person has the right to be in this in abroad, and they have the right not to connect to anyone. But it's very important for us to keep in touch with fellow Ugandans and give them information of what is happening in your life so that they can report. The embassy has no obligation to look for anyone because it is your right to be in that country. We cannot go into people's offices, people's houses, and check whether you're fine. But your colleague, your friend, or your relative will inform us. And then when the embassy is informed, that's the time the embassy will contact police and find out what really happened. In cases of deportation, in cases of asylum, I've had issues, for example, in Amsterdam, where people come to the embassy and they have asylum issues. They have been arrested, they are going to be deported, and then they asking for the embassy to help. The embassy cannot interfere in internal matters of a state. We are not even supposed to interfere in any criminal matter. All we can do is get information, relate the information to your family in Kampala or to your friends in Amsterdam or Belgium or US, whatever. We only get the information from the police, from the authorities, in a very polite way. We seek for information, and whatever they tell us, we cannot do anything to influence it because there's a limitation under the international law where the embassies, the foreign missions cannot interfere in day-to-day running of internal matters of a country. So most Ugandans have actually thought that the embassy is a government. They can do this, they can do that. We have limitations, and all we can do is actually seek for information. If someone is being deported and they make a complaint to the embassy that I'm being deported because I don't have a residence permit, really, there's nothing the embassy can do. The embassy will only say, "Oh, sorry, that's an internal matter." If someone has a debt with someone and they don't want to pay, you cannot report to the embassy. You report to the police, and then the police of that country will help you. In cases like UAE, where people are residents and they are not citizens, but they're citizens of Uganda, and they get into trouble, criminal trouble, still the embassy in the UAE cannot really help much. They can only help you to make sure that you have a lawyer assigned to you by the government of that country, a free lawyer.
Okay. All right.
And then you need to come in.
Yeah, sure. You had 1 minute. You've used it up.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Titus, for that insight. We have very few minutes. I see, Gordon, your hand is up. I want you to, in a minute, put whatever it is you're putting across. Then we.
Titus. Thank you so much, Lynn. I just wanted to put this to Mr. Titus, if you can let him respond to it. Now, because see, we are not saying that the embassy should interfere in the running of governments of foreign governments. No, nobody is saying that. But we are saying we should our Ugandan citizens in those countries should have some value put to them, should be treated uh, as per the law. Because see, I just give you an example of Chinese. The Chinese citizen getting a problem anywhere, in Uganda, in USA. When the Chinese citizen gets a problem, they are treated properly through the proper right channels. You cannot abandon them up and throw them China will ask you. If a American citizen gets a problem somewhere in Kenya, there is a way they are treated properly in accordance with the law. Not that America has come and intervene in the way Kenya runs its.
Gordon, true. That is the reason why I'm saying that if you have a friend, Gordon, and the friend communicates to the embassy that you're having an issue, you're being treated unprofessionally, or something is happening to you wrong, then the embassy will write an official complaint to the foreign affairs of that country, then to the internal affairs, then it comes back with a response. But that is all we can do. That say, oh, we have made sure so and so is fine. He has got a lawyer, and the lawyer is handling, and we have put in an official request that the matter should be handled. These things are done, but in most cases, the embassy is not even informed about your problem.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Let us hear from Machel and also the ambassador. I want to know why are these comments coming up? Why are these issues coming up? Is it because people or the embassy human resource does not know what they're supposed to do? Are there no processes that are supposed to be followed? Why should this be such a very, very delicate issue? Machel, are you there? Okay, let's move on. Ambassador Henry Mayega. Oh, Machel, there you are.
Yes, I am. As we were saying, they were talking about looking into the system from the grassroots. I'm going to take all this information that has been given to us and try and get back to you. And yes, so the assessment of the embassies we're going to discuss, and we shall get back to you. I humbly request.
There's a challenge here. It looks like people don't know the processes they're supposed to go through in case they have a problem. For example, among the very many other issues, are there processes they're supposed to follow that are in place for any Ugandan diaspora to, if they're in a problem, do they go through are they there?
Lynn, let me help.
Yeah, please, Ambassador. Thank you.
Because I'm on the ground. You see, Titus is raising very important points, but of course, many people are not going to accept them. The first thing you should do when you have gone to a country beyond your national borders is to register with the embassy so that they know your presence. Because if you don't register, because many people, for instance, get out of Uganda surrendered, but others, they may even come from South Africa or Kenya or Sudan and so on and so forth. And so when you relocate to another country, third country, nobody's going to know. So your presence must be registered with the embassy. And it's incumbent upon all Ugandans who get out of their own country to make sure that they make a registration with the embassy so that we get to know your embassy. I mean, your presence in the country. When I was in China, we encouraged, because people formed an association, and we advised them that they should form that association. Something that looked like HUNA, so that everybody is known by registration, by the association, and also by the embassy. That's critical. That's point number one. Because if you don't do so, when you get into problems, when you're in a foreign land, there is no recourse to anything else apart from actually getting caught up in a lot of problems and so on and so forth. So first point is that when you get to a foreign country, register with your embassy or the nearest consulate. And it's incumbent upon you to make sure, because many people get out of the country and it's not the government sending them out. And so since the government is not the one sending you out of the country, it is incumbent upon you to make sure that you register and your presence is recognized and register in the books of the embassy and also the association if it does exist in that country. So it's really very important. The moment you register, then the embassy keeps that record, and whenever you are in problems, we will get to know exactly what has happened. I'll give you an example. This ending week, there's a company which has been actually importing, you call it externalization of labor, to UAE, and it brought 300 Ugandans to work in Dubai. And the rest of the bulk of those people who are brought from Uganda have actually been working perfectly well in the Dubai Emirate. Now, 34 of them last week refused to work, and were ranked by the employers and also by the company that had actually brought these Ugandans to Dubai, sort out the problem, But we didn't know so much of these details until we were ranked by the company that actually brought these Ugandans to Dubai, and also by one of the Ugandans who was involved in this kind of thing. So we got to know about this problem and we have sorted it out. So the moment you make your presence physical, when you make your presence known to us, definitely we're going to respond and make sure that we assist you. Now, a short while ago, towards the end of last year, we had 2 cases of Ugandans who died in Dubai. And the company in which they were involved, or the companies that actually employed them, informed the embassy, rather than actually the people who actually had been employed informing either the association or the embassy. But anyway, somehow we got to know about these problems and we sorted the problems out, and the bodies were actually shipped back to Uganda. And to me, as far as I'm concerned, that was a plus. And as far as the operations of the embassy was concerned. So it's extremely important that when somebody gets out of the country, you register with your embassy. Because in many cases, people leave the country, leave Uganda and go abroad and they don't mention. But I also wanted to, because in the interest of time, there are quite a number of things which have been addressed, and I want to respond to all of them. I don't know whether you are actually allowing me to do so, because there are so many things that I was asked, so many
If you
observations.
could briefly do so, if you could briefly
No,
do so.
because
Yeah.
I wanted to believe that really, because the first 3 or so speakers actually focused on what I had said before, and there are quite a number of things. I mean, one of the points anyway, which I want to make is that the current government in Uganda is for purposes of serving everybody in the country. For as long as we cross elections, we finish elections. Once a government is elected, it now begins to serve everybody, irrespective of their political positions. So that is very important. And it's point number 2. I think it must have been Gordon who mentioned that it has become very difficult to visit the embassy in UAE, in Abu Dhabi. And I want to emphatically say that it has been because of the pandemic. Because ever since I came to Abu Dhabi, I've not seen or received any phone call of anybody who wants to come and visit the embassy. And we have declined to meet them. So I want us to really set these things the way they are and state facts, because the embassy in UAE has not declined to meet anybody. For as long as you contact us and you want a meeting, and there is, of course, the issues that you want us to really sit down and discuss are as important, there is no reason why we will decline having to meet you. That's extremely important for us to note. Now, there is also another one which has raised. I don't know which was. Of course, I agree with Titus. What Titus is saying, that in most cases, I think Ugandans, when they leave Uganda, they don't want to get in touch with the embassies, including myself. When I just began getting out of my country, I never would look for the embassy, and therefore, and I was fortunate because I didn't get into problems. But if I had, then it would have been me to blame, because I didn't do things the way they were supposed to be done. So it is extremely important for us to take note of that. Now, to be proactive, whether in UAE or US and so on and so forth, or China, where I was, I think it's important. It's two-way. The embassies the embassies make an effort to know where Ugandans are. But it is also incumbent upon Ugandans who get out of the country to make sure that they make their presence in those host countries known by the embassy of missions or consulates and so on and so forth. And I want to mention at this point in time, for the benefit of Gordon, that we have opened a liaison office in Dubai to take care of the interests of the Northern Emirates, including Dubai, because most of the Ugandans who live in the UAE actually reside and work in Dubai and in the Northern Emirates. We hope that the government of UAE is going to turn this into a consulate, probably by April. We have made that request, and we believe that that definitely is going to be a plus in as far as offering consular support to Ugandans who live in the UAE. The next one, which I wanted to quickly respond to, is I think really the topic that you chose is so subjective, ineffectiveness of embassies, but I don't begrudge it so much, because otherwise, if you had been selected in such a way to suggest that the embassies are very effective, probably that too would have raised the issue. So I don't want to really begrudge that as much as possible. The Rwanda connection between President Kagame and President Museveni, whether it is a family matter and so on, so the part of the matter for me as a Ugandan is to celebrate that this has now been put behind us and we're moving on as East African community, because 2 countries that have been at loggerheads are now coming together. It's very important. So we shouldn't be, in fact, most people who have been doing business in Rwanda or across the border are actually happy back home, because this opportunity has now been reopened. And therefore, for me, that's a plus. Human rights, Lumbuya connection, and so on and so forth. There is nobody, because you see, the enjoyment of human rights is not mutually exclusive. When you enjoy your rights, I must also enjoy mine. Because somebody alleged, I think it must have been Kamuhanda, that human rights are being violated in the country. For me, that is a blatant statement because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because, for instance, let's take and look at the riots that happened at the very last tail end of the campaign period in Uganda. Because what happened in the streets? What happened in the streets? What was happening? Because I mean, there was violence, and so the street forces are coming. And so, if you are caught from the wrong hand of the law, definitely they will catch up with you. So you don't blame anybody for having been arrested and arraigned and arrested and probably incarcerated in places like prisons and so on and so forth, including places outside the prison, because sometimes the prisons actually get filled up, and so people have to be put in other places. Which I want to, of course, to agree that they're not gazetted, but the arrests definitely, for as long as there is violation of the law, are going to take place, whether we want it or not. You know. So, and then somebody, of course, also touched on spying. That I think it must have been my friend Albert, that people were being spied on during the last UNA convention when elections occurred. Yes, spying, even me, Henry Mayega, being spied on. There is nobody, absolutely nobody, who's not spied on in the world, including President Yoweri Museveni spied on. Yeah, you remember the brawl which was between Obama and Angela Merkel. They were spying on each other. Actually, it was the Americans spying on Angela Merkel. So who is not being spied on? So spying on must, for purposes of ensuring that the country remains stable, spying must continue. So for me, I don't see a problem, because even me, Henry Mayega, I'm actually being, for as long as that spying takes place against me, for purposes of making sure the country is stable, I don't have any quarrel about that one. So in the meantime, I just want to mention those few things in the interest of time, because I don't think really you have enough time. I can see you have only 15 minutes within which to conclude this. But I want really to say that I'm very happy with these discussions, because we talk a lot, and I believe that out of these discussions we are going to make a way forward. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you very much, Ambassador. By virtue of the fact that this is a very important conversation, we have added 10 minutes to it. So if there is any other issue remaining, we'll definitely tackle it before we conclude. But allow me to read a few of the messages in the chat room. I'm seeing we have a Richard Opio, who's supposed to be part of the panel, I think. He says he's sorry, his network is not good. Sorry about Richard. I think we missed you on that. Ambassador Mayega, how do people register through the website? This is Miriam. I think she was referring to something you mentioned, Ambassador. Gordon is asking, what is the procedure of registration? I have seen, Miriam goes on to say, I have seen most people stuck, especially students who know nobody or the internal works of a particular country, the students who go to study abroad, especially. Gordon, we are streamlining. This is Titus replying Gordon and saying we are streamlining the process of registration. Soon it is going to be done online. And Miriam goes on to ask how soon. Titus, what is the current procedure? Gordon is asking. Someone else is saying, Gordon, please go to the nearest embassy and register. Thank you, Ambassador Mayega, for the clarification. And Gordon again says, are there some ways in which the embassies are supporting the groups that put Ugandans together in terms of recognizing these associations and helping them keep together? Okay. Gordon, please go to the nearest embassy and register. That is somebody else emphasizing that. Miriam is saying, Machel, you promised us a working portal last time you appeared on the show. Please let us know when it will be on so that we inform the diaspora community about it. The deadline for passport change has been fixed in April. The question we are wondering about is most diaspora people use passports to access their bank accounts or do other legal transactions. Will the old passport still be eligible for such transactions after the deadline? Yes, it has been a very, very big concern, and apparently embassies are not well equipped to, easily and quickly work on these changes that are taking place. Albert, I see your hand up. We have a few minutes. Quickly, in 1 minute, your question or comment, and we move forward.
My question is actually a comment on what Ambassador Mayega just ended his statement on. No, it's not okay for Uganda to spy on Ugandans in North America. It's actually against the law. It's called the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So, sir, if there are any spies here amongst us in our community, they should be arrested because they are violating American law. And it does not even help for us to form these cohesive entities or associations, as you call them. You can't have it both ways, sir. You can't have us spying and ratting against each other, which for the most part are lies, because you know how Ugandans will become. They come here, they run to State House and say, oh, so and so is noob, so and so is the one doing this, so and so. They're lies. So if you want a cohesive association like UNA, you cannot have that. You cannot pit the community against each other and somehow expect a cohesive community that works in the interest of Ugandans here or back home, or even the government in power. Right now, as we speak, the government of Uganda has horrible working relationships with the government of President Biden. How have your spies helped that? They have not. Because whatever information they've given you, first of all, is wrong. They're lazy. They're not even in the know. So they just come in there. They're not. You tell me what have they done?
All right,
I can give
Albert.
you. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. But we can go back and forth, Mr. Mayega. They're lazy. What do they know? Okay. But the truth is, the fact that they're here, and as you admittedly said, that it's okay. It's not okay. I just want to make it clear for our panelists and the viewers that it's not okay. It's not okay. It's actually against American law.
Okay, thank you very much, Albert. I see Richard Opio. Please, may you take the the podium. You have been off and on, off and on. Please, it's your turn to speak quickly, and then we will be closing the show in a bit.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you, dear participants, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. My name is Richard Opio. I work with the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Diaspora Department. I must admit that I have listened to most of the comments raised and the concerns raised by our brothers and sisters. I must admit I've listened to them with intent and I've taken note. These are very important comments, and I do believe all these points raised by our members will help us in taking some action. The concerns are noted. We shall be liaising with our other sister agencies, the MDS, matters of passport, matters of IDs. So many issues were raised, and we've taken note. We'll take action on them. I want to thank you really for bringing this topic. We do understand, yes, we have challenges. We have few missions abroad. And yet within those few missions, we've really tried our best, notwithstanding the circumstances of the challenges. I have listened to concerns that the US is such a large continent, but there are just 7 officials who are supposed to do all these services. Humanly speaking, it may not be easy to live up to the requirements of every person, but we take all these concerns. If we can work hard to improve, I can assure you the missions will try their best to improve. They have done excellent despite these challenges. They have also had problems here and there, but no institution is perfect. And I do believe we shall work really hard to improve that. We are committed really to empowering and linking up with our diaspora so that we promote diaspora direct investment into Uganda. Countries which have their diaspora contributing directly to their internal developments have seen more stability in terms of development than certainly over relying on foreign investors. So as a department, we are really very focused on this, promoting diaspora direct investment. Our policy, which we are working on, the strategy we're working on, we will be reaching out to all members of the diaspora through our missions abroad, through diaspora associations, so that we hear from you, like what you've raised today. Tell us, how do you want our government to serve you, to improve your investment, to guarantee the safety of your money when you send them here? We work together on this so that you can change this nation you also can then be able to develop your communities. This is a win-win situation that we all should aspire for. For our members who travel abroad, we do understand the challenges. A lot of them go and really end up in very difficult situations. Some of them go for jobs that have been so highly marketed, and then when they reach there, it's just a disaster. As missions, we work in the Ministry of Gender. We're working with the MDS police, anti-traffic units to make sure that leaving Uganda as you're going there, you should be able to reach safely and serve safely, get your money, and come back home safely. I also want to still appeal to our fellow Ugandans. Whoever you know, whoever you're calling to come abroad, it is important that we do due diligence to understand that these people of ours we are sending, where are they going? Or this job that I have got, where is it? Is it genuine? So there's really need to verify, and missions can play a very big role in helping our people. If they so reach out to them that I've got a job here and there, does this company exist? Does it do what it promises to be doing? Then embassies can help you to really identify and to really do due diligence so that you don't end up in trouble. I still appeal to our people, our Ugandans out there. Observe the laws of the countries where you stay. Please unite, work together. When you work together, we can mobilize, for example, we can say Diaspora Association of Boston, maybe Diaspora Association of Chicago. We mobilize so that services can be brought closer to you because our commitment as a ministry is to improve service delivery. We as missions exist for the purpose of Uganda and for the interest of Ugandans. Wherever you are, whether you are big, whether you're small, whether noob or FDC, the mission is apolitical. Our focus is that all Ugandans are served irrespective their social, political, religious affiliations. So please, it's our appeal to you. Let's work together in your groups, unite, focus, so that at least we change this country with one heart. We really apologize if there's any problem, shortfalls we have done deliberately, but we really hope that we work together to change this country. We are committed to that, and we'll do our best to make sure that we serve Ugandans in diaspora to help them build this home, come to this home, tell their children that we have a home in Uganda for which we are proud. Thank you so much. Your concerns are taken note of. We will take action and report in the next sessions. I really appreciate the organizers. God bless you all.
Right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Richard Opio. Interestingly, all we hear is that we are committed, we will do this, we will do this, we are committed, and things never happen. Well, you've promised that you're going to report back to us in the next session. I will look out for you and make sure you have something for us. But I quickly want to read these messages. Miriam, over to you. Machel, you promised us a portal. You haven't reported back to us on that. The deadline for passport change has been fixed in April. The question is, most diaspora people use passports to access their bank accounts and other legal transactions. Will the old passports still be eligible for such transactions after the deadline, especially if they don't meet the deadline? Ambassador Mayega and MOFA staff, that is Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have many desks working on diaspora issues in the President's office, in Parliament, in Foreign Affairs, in wherever, but we see them doing nothing. What are they supposed to do, and how can we make them functional? Gordon here says, since we have enough time to the next general elections, can you try and ensure that just like many other countries and citizens of other countries, Ugandans can also walk into their respective embassies and vote, like Kenyans in Uganda were able to vote from their embassy in Uganda? All right, Miriam goes on to say, if you want a YouTube link of this show, yes, which is something I was were definitely not going to miss out on. If you want the YouTube link of the show and other previous shows relating to diaspora community, please go to hashtag Civic Space TV, hashtag Ugandans in Diaspora, that is on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube, where the show will be aired, especially tomorrow at 2 p.m. From 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. You can also share your email or WhatsApp for those of you who want to more on this show. Mr. Opio, please recommend to your superiors This is Albert. He say, recommend to your superiors to add a community outreach staff member official at Uganda embassies and missions, especially the big ones. And please, that official should be a community leader in that country or region, not some officer from Kampala who doesn't even know the community. Okay, we are running out of time. I wanted to give a minute to Ambassador Henry Mayega as we wind up. Government is working towards ensuring that Ugandans in diaspora vote in 2026. The High Court ruled to that effect in 2021. Thank you very much, Richard, for replying to that one. That was Gordon's question. Now, as we wind up, before Ambassador can say something, no, actually, I think we should, Miriam, you'll do the conclusion on this. All right, Ambassador, quickly, we have, I'm giving you like 3 minutes. If you have anything to add on to this as we wind up, as we really actually conclude the show.
Just quickly to say that, of course, the embassies serve all Ugandans, irrespective of their political positions, as I said. At the beginning of this conversation, too, I think it must have been, I think, Kamuhanda who said that I must be a good listener, which I am. I'm always very patient. But at the same time, when I listen, I must also respond, especially if untruths are being peddled. That is my nature. And so, yes, good listener, yes, quite a number of things. Of course, I can't run out from the fact that, of course, embassies have got challenges. That is for a fact, just like any other. Even countries have got challenges. Embassies have got challenges, governments have got challenges, countries have got challenges. That is for a fact. And so, how we sort out those problems, I think, in my view, is what matters. And I just want to say that I must thank the diaspora in UAE because on a yearly basis, they send to Uganda close to 200 million US dollars. That is a plus. And this goes for small SMEs, investments, and housing construction projects, and so on and so forth. That is a plus. And I think we should continue to work together, embassy and the diaspora in the UAE. Very important. That's extremely important because also the trade is in the region between Uganda and the UAE is in the region of 1 billion US dollars per year. That is also a plus. So we should continue working together. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Miriam, as we conclude, I would love for you to say something as we conclude right away. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Miriam, anything that you want to say before we sign out?
I would like to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs staff and the embassy staff I see in the chat room for honoring our invitation. And please keep on attending. We would like to hear from you, especially answering our questions and the concerns we have, and going forward, how we can improve the communication and services in order to facilitate and enable good relations between the diaspora community and the government back home in Kampala. Secondly, I think we still need more of these discussions and a lot more. And I think we would have to configure what the embassy should be about. I think that question, it could be addressed by a larger audience, maybe the parliament and the president and whoever, but whoever has a chance to put it out there, please communicate. What are we supposed to do? What should we expect from the embassy? How many staff are supposed to be at a particular embassy, especially if you have a high population of Ugandans living in that community? And how best can we be served, especially given the changing community? Today, we are in a global village. Ugandans are not confined within the borders of Uganda. So we should think out of the box, and whatever the embassies were doing in the 20th century is not what they are going to be doing in the 21st century. I also look forward to easing the communication and the works with the internet, the e-system, the portals, so that we don't have to go through making phone calls which are bouncing and all that stuff. If I can go on the internet and have all my stuff done in my sitting room, I'll be so grateful, and I don't have to go through the hassle, all the time lag challenges, and all that is involved right now. So the Ugandan embassy should make use of internet a lot, a lot. Right now, they are trying to do something, but I think they can do much better than that. And Ambassador Mayega, we are always grateful for your presence on our show and sharing information with us. And all the panelists, I would like to thank you, and always show up when we invite you, please, and spread the message. Advise us, help us understand each other, and God bless you. Thank you, Lynn.
Hey, thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you, everybody who took part in today's conversation. Be rest assured that this is going on YouTube at 2 p.m. and you can follow more of this conversation. It is an ongoing conversation because, as Miriam says, there's a lot that needs to be addressed. And of course, Ambassador Maega, thank you so much for making time always. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs staff and team, thank you also. We hope to catch you again next time. With that report, I will hold you accountable, Mr. Opio Richard. You have promised, yes, Opio Richard, you have promised that you're going to bring us, a report on the issues we have raised. Thank you very much. We'll catch you again next time. And thank you for following hashtag Ugandans in Diaspora and Civic Space TV. I remain in Komugasho. I wish you a very wonderful day. For those of you who have just woken up, or those of you in the US, it is morning. It is very evening now for us here. I wish you the very best, and we'll catch you next time.